game to sports, business, and politics. Tonight, David scores all things taxes with Woody Johnson and Newt Gingrich. Don't miss our special scoreboard segment, Playmakers.
All morning on this tax day, we've been looking at the Tea Party protests over higher taxes and seeing whether President Obama will really follow through on his promise to overhaul the nation's tax code. Well, no matter where you live, the difference is some you'll be surprised about the grumblings over how much they had to fork over to the government this year. But who has it the worst when it comes to taxes on a state-by-state basis? Who has it the best? For those answers, I'm joined by Josh Barro. He is the Tax Foundation staff economist. Good morning, Josh. Good to see you.
Morning, Alexis.
All right, so we dug up some statistics and found out some really interesting things. 5 states have no sales tax whatsoever: Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon. Why is it that some states have no sales taxes and others do?
Well, usually if a state doesn't have a sales tax, it's for one of two reasons. Some states, like New Hampshire, just have a very frugal public sector with low spending per capita, so they can afford to get away without having a sales tax or even without having some other major taxes. Some other states, like Alaska, have unusual funding sources. In Alaska's case, it's taxes on oil extraction that generate lots of revenue for the state and allow them to avoid levying the taxes that most other states need to levy.
All right, so when you look at some of these states, California has the highest sales tax, 7.25%. Why is it then that California is on the verge of going bankrupt?
And California's sales tax is actually just going to 8.25% as part of a tax increase package there. California has been in a perpetual budget crisis for a number of reasons. The state has a dysfunctional legislative process for making its budget, and it keeps spending more money than it's taking in taxes. It also has a very high sales tax, but Californians pay low property taxes compared to most states, especially to most high-income states. So the tax take as a whole is still relatively high in California, not high enough to pay for their big government. But the low property taxes help offset the high sales taxes.
Very interesting. Okay, let's talk about gas taxes, because this is very interesting.
Sure.
Not good for me. The gas tax here in New York is 41 cents. I'll be honest with you, I do go over to New Jersey if I can. But two states,
Right.
Missouri and Oklahoma, they have the lowest at 17 cents. Why such a big difference? Who determines that, and why is it so heavy in New York?
Well, gas taxes are used to fund transportation. They go to roads, and in many states they also go to fund mass transit. And gas taxes vary between states for a few reasons. Some states have a more expensive transportation infrastructure to maintain. New York has lots of urban freeways and lots of transit, and that costs money to fund. Some states also use other revenue sources than the gas tax to fund their roads. New Jersey, for example, has one of the lowest gas taxes in the country, but they also have tolls on most of their major highways. So if you're a New Jersey driver, you're not hitting that hard when you buy gas, but then you have to pay all those tolls. So it can end up washing out in the middle. But generally, it's either because a low gas tax is either because the state is not spending that much money on road construction and maintenance, or because it's funding it in some other way.
Okay, very interesting. We also found out how long it takes for a consumer, an individual who lives in a state, to pay back Uncle Sam. And check this out. When you look at some of these statistics here, it takes a full 4 months, 120 days in the state of Connecticut to pay your tax bill. Now, in a place like Alaska, which is known, we've learned a lot about that through Governor Sarah Palin, it takes a little bit more than a month. I think it takes about 82 days to pay it back. Is there something you get, for example, in Connecticut that you don't get in Alaska? I mean, can you prove why it is that you spend so much more in one state versus another?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of reasons for the big variations between tax burdens between the states. One is that taxpayers in different states bear very different federal tax burdens, and that's mostly because high-income people pay a higher share of their income in tax, and so states with lots of high-income people, like Connecticut, pay more of their income in tax than states without a lot of high-income people, like Mississippi. So while Connecticut residents pay a large share of their income in government tax overall, if you're a wealthy Connecticut resident, moving to Mississippi won't cut your federal tax burden. It'll actually go up because you'll have less state and local tax to deduct. So that's a big driver of the difference. The second part is that state governments vary a lot in how they finance themselves and how much money they spend. So Alaska, where Alaskans only work 82 days of the year to pay taxes, Alaska has all that oil tax revenue.
Yeah.
And so those taxes aren't paid by Alaskans. They're paid by people all around the country, and that's why Alaskans have such a short time to work to pay taxes.
Very
Other states with
let me just jump in here because we only have about 20 seconds left. There are some really wacky taxes out there.
Yeah.
Give me some examples.
Sure. Well, the wackiest one I've seen lately is Washington, D.C., the mayor's proposing to charge people a fee on their electric bills for the privilege of using streetlights. But we're seeing lots of states resort to really big increases in excise taxes. Oregon's looking at an 1,800% increase in its beer tax.
Wow.
California considered legalizing and taxing marijuana to raise nearly $1 billion a year in tax revenue for the state.
I thought it's not legal.
Well, it's decriminalized, but this would actually make it legal not just if you're sick, just if you want to have fun, you could buy it and pay marijuana tax and help balance the state's budget.
Only in the state of California. All right. Josh Barro, thank you very much. You did a great job for breaking it all down for us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, now let's send it